Did you believe our modern alphabet was created by Romans? Well, that's bull. I should say that's a bull, taken directly from the Egyptian R, which became Semitic Aleph, then the Greek Alpha. B came from Bet, meaning house, which became Beta, but this all started with the Egyptian Het, which also meant house. C was this Egyptian cup. The Etruscans tipped it and broke its handle. The Romans flipped it and were happy. That is until Spurius Carvilius Ruger came along and decided that people weren't saying his name correctly, so he glued the handle back on to make G. D was a hand that they drew questionably in Egyptian hieratic. The Greeks stood this up and voila. E was an African man shouting hey. The Greeks didn't need a H, so they stripped him to form epsilon or naked E. F was this horned viper that was drawn aggressively and stood up in hieratic. The Greeks made one more letter out of this cute little cerastes they called upsilon. Romans liked upsilon so much, they made 4 letters out of it. Why, you ask? You won't believe my answer. Well, you might. H was originally het. Yes, the same het as earlier, but drawn bigger this time and no gap in the wall. This became het with a bar, before it lost 2 sides and became the Greeks' eta. This simple forearm became the Semitic yod, which finally became the Greek iota, which we now call I, which we were happy with until an Italian, Gian Giorgio Trissino, decided he wanted to zhuzh up the language a smidge by adding J to the mix. K, put simply, was a tent that Canaanites stood up and anthropomorphized into a hand, allegedly. L, a lion to lavish you with alliteration. The Egyptians simplified this in hieratic to this set of interesting squiggles, which the Phoenicians simplified even more, before the Etruscans set it straight, literally. M was this owl's eyebrows, which somehow reminded the Semites of water, whereas N actually was water, but who needs all those waves? O was an eye, not that kind of eye, a pupil, that became an eye, or ayin according to the Semitic. The Greeks called it Omicron. P came from the Semitic P, which became the Grecian pi. This eye of a needle Semitics called koth, that became the Greek kopar, is forever stitched into the fabric of our history as Q. This hieratic symbol became res in Semitic. The Romans gave it an extra leg to differentiate R from P. Strangely enough, it began life as a mouth. S was an Egyptian fishhook that just kept bending until, well, here we are. This Egyptian cross, representing a simple tally mark, became the Semitic tor, but the Greeks transported one stroke upwards to differentiate it from chi, the forefather of modern X. Finally, these 2 bolts were joined together in Egyptian hieratic to make the Z sound. The Semitics called this same symbol zayin, which the Greeks adopted and modified slightly, giving it the name zeta to rhyme with beta, eta, and theta. Finally, Romans gave it its final form as Z, or Z, if you speak the native Afroasiatic English tongue, that is.